Hello. Okay. Sounds like I'm hearing audio. See, I'll get the thumbs up from the wife. Hello and welcome, everyone. Let people settle in. Thanks, Fractals, already posting the flight plan. So I took Fractal's wonderful advice and did a little countdown. Got thumbs up from the wife. That's good. I took Fractal's advice and did a little countdown today. So hopefully that's helpful. Gives people a little bit of time to settle in. I'll play with that a little bit in the future and see. But we'll always start at 7. Just a bit of time to get things moving. As Fractal's noted, so we're in the West USA server. And then if you'd like to follow along, you don't have the game, the flight tracker app down there should have the current location on there. So let me get myself set up over here. We are off to Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park tonight. So with that, let me give a little bit of info on the stream. So each week we pick a different national park and explore it together. Like I said, this week we're off to Hawai'i Volcanoes. I've researched the park in preparation and added new information with sources to the National Park wiki page. This week in particular, there was actually a lot of meat to add. Most of the national park pages are pretty fleshed out, but this was a good one. So why Wikipedia? There's two main reasons why I like to do that. One, it's a good way to make sure that the facts are checked by others. So there's a community of people who will kind of review and refine any information that's added. It also gives back to a living body of knowledge, something that'll go beyond our hour together here. To that end, if you notice anything that seems off or incorrect, especially those of you who are in and around the Hawaii area, please go into the wiki pages and improve things, make updates. As the wiki community says, be bold and make the changes if they need to. Also, we'll vote near the end for the next national park that we'd like to go visit, so look out for that and other chat things going on throughout the stream. Make sure I got this. Thanks. What time of day for flight in Hawaii? So, Flying Singer, I am at 5:48 a.m. right now, and that seems to be a pretty nice time for a takeoff here. I also will change probably a little bit through as we're climbing up the mountain to get a little bit of background, but I would recommend taking off at a sunrise here. I like the countdown. All right, Stacy, good to know. Yeah, I was researching ways to do it, and there's kind of a 5-minute countdown you can do, and then maybe you can do one. All right. Other quick note. Yes, I am a pilot, but we'll be taking full advantage of the simulator. So as I was just mentioning to Flying Singer, I will even change time of days and stuff like that. So to that end, please don't try any of this at home. Exploring is good. Flying a plane really close to a mountain, not so good. All right. Without further ado, I'm Jules Altis, and I'll be your pilot for this evening. So sit back, relax, and let's explore Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park. Great, well, there's a thunderstorm right now. Ooh, really? There's a thunderstorm going on. Yeah. So the game has live weather you can do too, which is for the purpose of the live stream doesn't help a ton, but it is really cool sometimes to see. So let's get ourselves all situated here. We'll do a little takeoff. So I mentioned in the chat just a little bit ago that I'll be flying a Series SR-22, which is a Duluth, Minnesota company. So those of you familiar with the Series company, is a plane that I particularly like. So a little treat for myself, I suppose. It's also a good one. We'll be climbing up a lot of mountains today. So that's where you want that kind of thing. Get myself doing a little takeoff roll here. The end of the runway. I happen to know this ends just in time to fly away. All right. Beautiful Hawaii. I'll tell you what, Flying Singer, I'm going to send it forward just a couple of minutes so people can see the landscape a little bit better here. Nice morning sunrise for our flight today. All right, Fractals, thank you. So on it. So have you ever been to the park before? Be curious. I have been to this park actually in the last 10 years. This was one of the last trips that I did before COVID really locked down all travel. So my wife and I actually did a trip out here just at the beginning of the year and got to go to this park and kind of walk around. It was really, really cool, actually. I'm very excited to be showing it today. So while people are answering that poll, I did a little bit of research into the what's called the foundation documents of the parks and found a really useful summary of why the park exists. So it sounds like every national park has what's called a foundation document. So I'm going to read that park purpose, and I think that that's the best one-sentence summary of the existence of the park, at least that I could find. So the purpose of Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park is to protect, study, and provide access to Kilauea and Mauna Loa, two of the world's most active volcanoes, and perpetuate endemic Hawaiian ecosystems and the traditional Hawaiian culture connected to these landscapes. So it's all about the two volcanoes, and then about protecting the ecosystems and the Hawaiian culture. So the other guy, is that a yes, you've been to the park before? This is a good one. This would be top of my list for coming out of COVID. Would be a trip to Hawaii to go to Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park. Okay, so like I mentioned, the park protects two key volcanoes, but there's actually a total of 5 volcanoes on the Big Island. So I'll kind of pan over to the left here. You can see Mauna Loa just off to the side, and Kilauea is actually kind of off to the front here. Flip back into the cockpit view. Sort of low windows, so. I wanted to show what that looked like, because what's actually happening in Hawaii, for those of you who have been there, you'll notice, or seen on a map, you notice the chain of islands that is forming. And so here, I'll zoom in a little bit on the flight plan so you can see, quick before we'll ground ourselves. So here's our flight plan for today. We're actually flying, the national park's kind of an oddly shaped park. Up on the top part on the left, you can see Mauna Loa, and then Mauna Kea is over towards the right. So we'll start over in Mauna Kea, and then we'll fly up Mauna Loa. I've also included in the flight plan the Mauna Kea, not Mauna Kea, Kilauea, excuse me, as our first stop. I also included the Mauna Kea Observatory for those of you flying along Flying Singer. It's a really cool place. I think you mentioned last week, actually, go check it out. So I did include that in the flight plan. We'll see if we have time today. Probably not. But. Fractals, you've never been to Hawaii. You'd probably go if I had a layover in Australia. That's unfortunate. You should totally go. Aloha. Kaholi. I actually was doing a bunch of pronunciation practice with the close friend before this, and I got it a little bit better now. But all right, so let's see. We got yes in the last 10 years for 2 votes. Not yet. Oh, visual. Thank you. The wife with the cue cards. Thank you. Okay. So yes in the last 10 years for 2 votes, and not yet for 2 votes. Fractals, I would recommend. I think it's worth getting out there. Okay, so Hawaii, this chain of islands. So essentially, what's happening is there's this hot spot in the middle of the Pacific, and what that causes is this sort of chain of islands that get formed by the moving tectonic plates. So it's much easier to see as a picture of what this looks like. So essentially, you have a hotspot forms a volcano, and the tectonic plate moves. And the hotspot, same hotspot, new volcano, right? So over time, you get this kind of chain of islands. And what that looks like in practice, this is the Emperor Hawaiian Seamount chain. So you'll notice there's the US over here, we have Japan and Asia over here, and it's actually an incredibly long chain. So the Hawaiian part of this, the Hawaiian section is over here, and then the Emperor section is this upper part. So it's significantly bigger than I understood. Hawaii is kind of this part, but the underwater portions from that same hotspot still exist. They're just not above land anymore. So that's kind of what this park is, what you see at this park, and then also what it's why it's interesting to study is because it's one of the places where you can really see this in action. Let's see. Yeah, the other thing that's really interesting that you noticed in that picture that there was that kind of V shape. So it's a distinctive V, and that kink in the tectonic plate movement it's a textbook example of essentially that they don't understand how tectonic plates move or why they would change directions. So they bring that up in courses apparently to kind of say like, hey, it was going this direction one day and then it switched to this direction another day. We don't really know why. No, anyway. It probably doesn't help you sleep at night, but yeah, that's kind of cool. The other piece that's kind of interesting, there's actually another volcano that's on its way. So let me show these real quick. So I mentioned there's 5 different volcanoes. There's a 6th one just off the shore of Hawaii. And that's Loihi. So this is kind of developing here. So we're flying right along here, and off to our right, there's another volcano on its way. So there is a video that I really liked for this park. I've tried to show different park videos as I can find them to kind of give an overview and explain it. We'll watch that one a little bit later, but I actually wanted to do our first topic today before we dive into that, because I think it gives a really good overview. I think it's helpful to have the overview of the first topic before we jump into the video. So kind of move on a little earlier than normal from the park. With that, Fractals, you want to post up our first poll here? Oh, I forgot my my administration notes. I totally forgot. Well, people can vote on that poll real quick, but just a quick heads up. Yesterday was Community Manager Appreciation Day. And so for those of you who manage communities, we appreciate all you do. In particular, Fractals, thank you very much for all your help. I didn't have any better forum to like send you something or something. I guess I could send you something. That's probably not going to happen, but I do appreciate all your help. And you really do help make the stream work. So community manager, thank you very much. The other piece that I'll mention real quick is the park's data about the shape of the land of the park is from 2014. The land has changed significantly since 2018, and then again recently the volcano started erupting in December 20th of 2020. So the data we'll see today, the flight is a little bit outdated. You'll get the same sense, but also show some before and after pictures. Send me things. Let's try Fractals. I'll get you something, I'm sure. All right, so our first topic today then is lava and lava flows. And that poll that Fractals posted up. So what does high silica content in lava result in? Is it a better social life and more Tinder matches? Is it the birth of a new Silicon Valley CEO? Or is it very viscous, like think sticky, lava, and an increased likelihood for explosive eruptions? Give people Fractals. Nublados trace. Nublados trace? I don't know. Okay. Yes, agreed. Purple hearts. All right, so lava is a molten rock, magma when it's under the earth, that has been expelled from the interior of a terrestrial planet, so Earth or Moon. The magma is generated by the internal heat of the planet, and then as it erupts from the surface, it'll solidify into some sort of shape. Usually when it erupts, when it's coming through the crust, it's about 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit to 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. So incredibly hot, hot lava. I can't use lava as the analogy for how hot it is, but it is incredibly hot. It is rocks that are liquid because of how hot they are. So a lava flow then is an outpouring of lava created during an effusive eruption. So if a volcano erupts and sort of lets the lava flow down, then that's where a lava flow would come from. And a lot of the landscape here, actually, which we are flying over right now, this is a lava flow. So you can kind of get a sense of the size and shape of this sort of thing. And it looks a little bit like a river delta and how it flows down. Vote on the poll by clicking the link above. Okay. So, and then it can run to the sea. So this is part of the park itself, and kind of a good example of what a lava flow looks like. Let me grab this photo real quick. So this is a picture of where we are flying right now from a satellite. It looks kind of the same, but you can see really distinctly where the lava was flowing versus the green land that we're over. The other thing that's important to know is although lava is so viscous, it can be 1,000 times more viscous than water. Because the top of the lava can cool, then the lava that's underneath that kind of crust continues to flow because it can stay hot. It's insulated from the air that would cool it down. And so it can actually travel quite a long ways. Let me get myself back on this flight plan. So I've been kind of steadily climbing because I know that we have a huge climb ahead of us. So off the coast here, where the lava has run off, you can get these sort of sea arch structures. And so there's one called the Hole sea arch, which is just off to the west. Let me show you this. So it doesn't show up in the game, but this is what it looks like. Really pretty sort of place. So if you go in and visit the park, this is one of the destination points you can go and see. That's kind of just below us, right where we are now. Turn around and we'll follow the chain of craters road is that road down there, and we'll follow that all the way up to Kilauea. Took me too long to realize that was clouds in the picture, and I don't know what picture you're referring to. Okay, so you have this lava, and then the lava can form a lava flow. So this all comes down to, and how lava behaves is all about the viscosity of the lava as it's flowing. We'll talk about what makes different types of lava and how you get kind of different types of lava formation. But just a quick refresher, when I say viscosity, this is what to have in mind. So you have on your left is lower viscosity, on your right is higher viscosity. Quick refresher. I have them backwards on my head well, actually, until I was researching this, I had them backwards on my head. So almost all lava is dominated in composition by silicate materials, and the physical behaviors of the lava depends on the ratio of silica content. So let's see what the straw poll results are. Birth of a new Silicon Valley CEO for 2 votes. Yep, that probably also happens. It's one of those old wives' tales. And then increased likelihood of explosive eruptions is correct. So you get this very viscous, this kind of sticky almost lava. And if you get really viscous lava, then it's more likely to explode. So that key component, the silica content, sets the viscosity. So if you have a high silica content, you can end up with viscosity like pitch. So pitch is this sort of like tar. It's where we get the phrase pitch black, as a fun fact for it. Another fun fact for you, there's actually what is this now, 90-year experiment that's showing the viscosity of pitch. So this is every 10 years or so, one drop falls from this experiment. It's in a university in Ireland. They're still running the experiment. Started in 1927. And the third last piece of it is that high viscosity flows much like a glacier. And so they actually use pitch to demonstrate how glaciers flow. So if you think back to Kenai Fjords, we talked about how that ice moves very slowly like a river, but very slowly over time. That's kind of what that looks like. All right, let me pull this back here. We'll do a quick pan around here. I'll probably spend most of the time today out of the plane because the mountain's so big in the background. And let me pull up this piece. So this is kind of the landscape of what it looks like. And then Mana Ulu, excuse me. That's kind of the landscape behind us. And then this is when the mount just behind us, this crater erupted. This is what it looked like. And I'll show you, I'll flip back to the scene so you can see what I'm talking about. So that's that right off in the distance there is what the one that we were seeing the eruption. All right. Now we're going to keep making our way up the chain of craters drive. All right, so we have our high viscosity lava, kind of like pitch, and that's where you get your explosive sort of thing. This can create a couple of things. Pyroclastic deposits, so if you see this sort of thing, then it's a high viscosity, high silica content. It also can create 2 really incredible structures. So you can get lava domes, so this is Mount St. Helens, kind of a classic one. You can also get lava spires, which is where either it formed under the crust and was pushed out, or it was formed it was so thick as it was coming out that you get this spire that emerges from the top of the mountain. Now, Hawaii's lava is more like a medium silica content, and so that means that the viscosity is more like that of ketchup. This tends to produce low-profile shield volcanoes like Mauna Loa, which is the shield volcano just in front of us here. Okay, I'm going to quick pause because we're going to hit a couple of sites all at once, and I don't want to miss them. So Flying Singer, I'm jumping ahead to about, we'll go 750. So right off our front here, there's a hiking trail that passes through, well, first I'll show, off the road just underneath us, there's a lava tube, which I mentioned that the lava can solidify on top but keep flowing through underneath. That can form then a lava tube. So that's what this looks like. You can see that from my house. You can see that from your house. Cool. Kaloli. That's awesome, and probably a spectacular view. And Sailor Guy, so Devil's Tower is, I was reading about it actually because I wanted to find a good example. It was a little bit too much of a rabbit hole for today, but there's the classic sort of hexagon shaped, like Giant's Causeway in Ireland, or Devil's Tower. Um, Devil's Tower is from uh, a lava that solidified under the mantle of the earth and then was either raised up, or it was the earth around it was eroded down. So it's slightly different ways it gets formed, but it's in the same, like, it's still rocks that are formed from volcanoes from the earth's mantle. So related, but like slightly different aspects of it. Actually, kind of speaking of visiting lava, so I down here you can see there's this sort of trail. How many people in the chat have been able to go out and actually walk on lava before? Uh, Kaloli, I suspect you have. Then, if you can see it from your house, you probably walked on the lava. If you've been to the park, you probably got a chance to do it because you can do this sort of thing. I'll show you what that trail looks like so you can kind of see. So this is the one that you're seeing here. This is Kilauea Iki Crater, and this is the hike that you would do. This was formed after the lava solidified from a 1959 eruption that looked like this. So that is boiling lava, and the lava emerging from the side there. So let me flip back here. I'm gonna do a little bit of sightseeing real quick while we continue. So there's the Kilauea Iki Crater Trail. That was one I just mentioned. This then starts sort of the Crater Rim Drive part of the park, which is a really famous set of things to visit. So the visitor center is over on your right here, and then this is the this crater here is the Halemaumau crater. This is one of the most famous ones to go visit. This is at the summit of Kilauea. This is also the home of Pele. Oh, I have that as a question later, so I won't spoil that poll. But this is an important one to go. And when you go and visit, this is also the one that's currently erupting, and so they have a lot of smoke advisories and things like that. Take a little pause break here because this is sort of a cool one to see. Oh, is that where we have? Okay, been on a few of the different lava fields. Emeraldsno, yep. Emeraldsno, was that in Hawaii or is that another lava field? 2014, yep. It does feel, Stacey, I agree, it feels very strange. The lava's like, at least the type that I walked on was the kind of lava we'll talk about in about 2 seconds. It's very rigid to then see it juxtaposed with kind of the lava flows where it looks like ketchup, right? Also took open door helicopter flight over this area. Open door helicopter flight would be very fun. I have a bucket list item to go and fly around this area at some point. All right, so down off to in front of the plane there, that's the Jagger Museum. I'll pull up, this one is the picture of what this looks like now. So this is what it looks like in 2014. So Flying Singer, it might have looked like this then when you were there. If you were in Hawaii in 2014. Not exactly this area, outside the national park. Okay, got it, yeah. And then this is what it looks like now. And I have a video that'll show a little bit of the difference, but just to level set. So you can see that the road kind of collapsed off in the background, and the crater itself expanded pretty significantly. So the Jaeger Museum's out in the front here. Okay, so flip back here. Anything else to point out around here? There's trails and drives around this whole area, so it's definitely a very cool place to go and visit. All right, let's keep flying. Now we are on the ascent. All right, so for those of you who have walked on different types of lava, you may have noticed that there's sort of, typically you'd find two key types. There's this type of lava called a pahoehoe, and there's a type of lava called ʻaʻa. So ʻaʻa lava, and these are both ones that form when you have medium levels of silica. So this is the kinds of lava you'd find in Hawaii. ʻaʻa is characterized by a rough, rubbly surface and is composed of broken lava blocks called clinker. So let me pull up a picture of what this looks like. Yep, flying snake, that's what it was. Emeralds are not in Hawaii. There are a few places in New Mexico and Idaho. Yeah, New Mexico and Idaho both showed up actually when I was researching this. There's a big valley carved out by a volcano in Idaho. I didn't realize that, but it's like the Snake River Valley, I think. Um, was that where you were, the Snake River Valley? Okay, let me flip over. So this is ʻŌhiʻa. And you can kind of see the clinkers are kind of getting pulled along the top. So the flow actually comes from this intersection, but then the clinkers carry along. And then when it solidifies, you end up with this really jagged kind of structure. ʻŌhiʻa is usually higher viscosity than pahoehoe, which means that pahoehoe can turn into ʻŌhiʻa if it becomes turbulent or if it hits impediments or steep slopes, that kind of thing. So it can kind of transition between the two. Pahoehoe then is this other type, which means smooth, unbroken lava. And it's smooth, billowy, undulating, kind of a ropey surface. This is pahoehoe. What it looks like. You see the start of the flows up here. Pahoehoe typically advances in it's kind of a series of lobes and toes. It kind of looks like it's a little alien crawling towards you. Probably want to get out of the way if it's that close to you. But it's kind of cool how it moves around like that. And you can see these two side by side. It's kind of helpful, I think. So if you look at this picture, you can see the pahoehoe on the right, and then you can see the ʻŌhiʻa kind of in the middle section here. We have a pahoehoe lava flow here and an ʻŌhiʻa flow here. You can see the clinkers floating around on top. So we have actually both side by side in this one. Yeah, Craters of the Moon. Kind of near Twin Falls. Okay. Craters of the Moon, huh? Cool. All right, let's pop out of the plane real quick and take a look at our Mauna Loa. So we're going to be climbing Mauna Loa here. You can see the lava flows off the side of it. If we look back, there's where we just were, on the edge of the park. And there's a viewpoint, actually. You can go and take a road all the way up here. So this is what it looks like in the real world. Pretty similar, actually, to the game. Let's be the size. The other piece that's cool to see is you can look at it with the contours, and then you can see the rift zones really easily. So this is where a lot of the lava would flow and develop along the sides here. So look for that as we're flying around. You'll see it kind of, these black lava flow lines are ancient lava flows. Actually, I don't know how ancient, probably pretty recent. Okay, so lava. We have pahoehoe and ʻŌhiʻa. Those are the kind of medium silica content. You can also get a block lava flow, which actually we saw at Lesson Volcanic National Park a couple of weeks ago, so it looks like this. This also would form, it's a little bit like ʻŌhiʻa in that it's kind of got these blocks. They're not quite so sharp, but this is actually a photo from Lesson Volcanic. Okay, so high silica content, you might get lava domes, lava spires, and you might get explosive kind of lava. Medium silica content, you get more lava flows, you get ʻŌhiʻa, pahoehoe, and with low silica content, you get the viscosity of like a light motor oil. There isn't any low silica content volcanoes around anymore, though, so you don't actually come across that in your day-to-day travels for sure. But this is something that would have existed a long time ago on Earth. You get that kind of content. I'm gonna trim my plane here real quick to see if I can get enough climb rate to make this climb. As I was practicing here, you very quickly realize how enormous the mountain is. Kaloli, if you have the height offhand, or fractals actually, if you have the height offhand, that would be good to post. But I think it's like 13,000 feet. So it's quite a climb from sea level to 13,000 feet as a person or as a plane. There's a hiking trail that goes up here. Okay, so that was a lot of information about lava all at once. One, it's cool because lava is really cool. Also, it really helps to understand what you're seeing when you see the park like this. And so now would be a great time to pull up this video of the two. Let me pause this real quick. Let's switch over. So the park doesn't have a kind of overview video like we've seen at some of the other parks. And so instead what I did for this is grabbed their explanation of what changed in 2018, which has a ton of really cool shots of different lavas. Look for pahoehoe, look for ʻŌhiʻa in the shots. For those of you here for the Yosemite one, you'll also notice it looks a lot like the Frazzle Ice. In that video, they compared it to lava flows, but seeing them side by side is kind of a cool cool thing. We also talk a little bit about where earthquakes come from. It doesn't have a friendly ranger in the same way that the other ones do. It's a little bit more of a friendly voice in the sky, but it's still really pretty cool. So, all right, let me know if it's the right volume.
The island of Hawaii is home to one of the most active volcanoes in the world, Kilauea. In March 2018, Kilauea volcano was erupting in 2 places, at the summit since 2008, and at Pu'u'o'o since 1983. In mid-March, USGS scientists observed increased pressure of the magma system beneath Pu'u'o'o. This caused the crater floor of Pu'u'o'o to rise. At the same time, Kilauea summit also went through a period of increased inflation. On April 26th, the lava lake overflowed onto Halemaumau crater floor at the summit. On April 30th, the crater floor of Pu'u'o'o collapsed. Later, scientists determined this ended the 35-year Pu'u'o'o eruption. 2 days after the collapse at Pu'u'o'o, the summit lava lake began to drop. After the collapse of Pu'u'o'o, a series of earthquakes indicated that magma was intruding in the middle and lower East Rift Zone. On May 3, 2018, the first fissure opened along the lower East Rift Zone in a residential subdivision called Leilani Estates. Between May 3rd and May 6th, 10 fissures opened in the lower East Rift Zone. By May 15th, the number of fissures increased to 20. On May 19th, lava flows moved toward the ocean to the southeast. On May 29th, vigorous lava flows from Fissure 8 began to move northeast toward Kapoho Bay. Over the next 2 months, lava from Fissure 8 continued to flow towards the ocean, creating a large lava delta. This delta and other ocean entries added 875 acres of new land to the island of Hawaii. As the summit subsided and adjusted to withdrawal of magma, powerful collapse events felt as earthquakes grew more frequent. Collapse events occurred as magma drained from the summit reservoir to the new eruption, and gas was trapped beneath the surface by rockfall debris. This caused the ground above to become less supported and stressed. On average, every 28 hours, the ground at the summit collapsed. In May, these collapse events were often accompanied by plumes of ash. By June, the caldera floor began to rapidly collapse, dramatically changing the summit landscape throughout June and July. From May through August, over 60,000 earthquakes rocked the summit, with 62 major collapse events. As a result, the depth of Halemaumau crater increased from 280 feet to approximately 1,600 feet, and the diameter more than doubled. By early August, the volume of lava erupting from Fissure 8 began to decrease, and the earthquakes at the summit returned to normal levels. After months of no activity, scientists determined the eruption was over. Lava flows covered 13.7 square miles of land. Over 700 homes were destroyed and approximately 2,000 people were displaced. Please be respectful as you explore the park and the island of Hawaii.
So hopefully the lava scenes in that were a little more interesting now, knowing a bit of what it means to have the ʻaʻa and the pohoihoi kinds of lava. I also thought the way that it kind of carves its way through trees and it looks like a river as it comes to the ocean. Really, really pretty incredible, actually. So, yeah, if you haven't seen a video like that before, it's a really incredible phenomenon. No ranger. Wow, it wouldn't have been great if they just had that other ranger come in for the last bit, throw in a quick wow for us. Oh, if only. We could see the lava bubbling out of Fissure 8. You could see the lava bubbling out of Fissure 8. Wow. Yeah, that must have been a weird day. Oh, this footage is nuts. Yeah. Lava delta equals initial lava minus. Crazy Tycho. That's a pretty bad joke, but I love it. Lava delta equals initial lava minus final lava. Cute. A crazy time lapse at the summit. That's a crazy time lapse. Yeah, the summit collapsing was nuts. And it was interesting because I was trying to get a picture for the flight plan, and it's so inaccurate now that it almost doesn't make sense. Like, I have the plane parked on the road, and you saw the road like kind of hanging off the edge. So like it's totally, part of it's totally gone. So, well, I'm glad you liked the video. Hopefully that makes a little more sense. So in summary, lava's amazing. It's the molten part of the earth coming to the surface. The greater the viscosity, the greater the tendency for eruptions to be explosive rather than effusive. Pahoehoe lava flows are smooth, and ʻaʻa flows are sharp. And of course, the real trick to remembering new terms like pahoehoe and ʻaʻa is little memory devices, right? So like, if you need to remember to do the laundry when you get home, you can mentally picture yourself when you walk through the door, remembering to do your laundry. And then later when you walk through the door, you'll remember to do your laundry because you've already imagined that scenario happening. And so it's easier to remember. So you can kind of, connect these different things together. When I walk through the door, then I'll remember to do the laundry, that sort of thing. And so in the case of lava flow types, it's a little bit easier. For instance, if you're walking around a lava flow and it's all sharp and jagged, well, then it's ʻŌhiʻa lava, right? Of course, you'll know this already because as you're walking around on these sharp, jagged edges, you'll be going, from all the sharp edges cutting into your feet. Okay. It's very hard without audience reaction to tell how that delivery went, but we're going to assume that it was a roaring success. So there's your memory device for is sharp edges, sharp, jagged edges from the clinkers. All right, Fractals, you want to post up the poll for our next topic? I'll do a little pan around here as we're flying up Mauna Loa. Keep going up towards the crater. So our next topic today is about a plant that is very meaningful and native to Hawaii, or endemic to Hawaii at least. This is the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua plant. ʻŌhiʻa Lehua. So actually, we'll let Fractals post up that poll. And I had a question as well. So while people are already kind of in the chat, does anyone have like a favorite tree or like a particularly sentimental one? Because as I was researching this, it reminded me of there's a willow tree in my backyard that we planted from when my childhood dog died. And I was reflecting on these trees and kind of the sentimental value, and it's fun to remember those sorts of, you know, bits of nature that are more meaningful. So I'm curious if anyone else had those kinds of memories. Actually, the willow tree is kind of a funny story because we planted this willow tree, and I remember thinking as a kid, like, oh, this will be so cool. It'll be this big billowy willow. And it's now, I don't remember how many years later, but long enough to see the shape of the tree forming. And whatever willow we got was a different willow than a standard willow. And so it's sort of like, it just kind of goes up and it has like a couple of branches hanging around. Oh, maybe it just needs some more time. But kind of fun. So, okay, rolling on the floor. I remember from now I'm rolling on the floor. Thank you, Kaloli. Yeah. Right. I take offense to this poll question. It's a tree. It's a tree. I don't know what I called it, Kaloli. But the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua is a tree. Yeah. Oops. Let me fix my map here. So we're coming into Mauna Loa. So we're coming up to the Mauna Loa crater here. Change view so you can see as we're coming around. So that poll that Fractals posted, who is Pele? Is it the Hawaiian volcano deity and elemental force and the creator of volcanic landscapes? Or is it a legendary soccer player? Or probably Fractal's relative? It's probably Fractal's relative, if I'm being honest. Maple trees, yeah. You ever go and see a maple tree, like how they go and tap the tree and collect the maples, Fractals? I feel like that would be a thing you've done. So this is the crater summit of Mauna Loa. Quite a hike up here, but a very pretty place to go to. Okay, so ʻŌhiʻa Lehua tree. So what are we talking about? We're talking about this plant. This is a picture of it when it's on a lava field. This is kind of a smaller one. Typically, though, they can get very large. So it's a species of flowering evergreen tree that can be found only on the 6 largest islands of Hawaii. It is highly variable in its height depending on the environment that it's in. So it can also grow up to be 66 to 82 feet tall. So this is one from the backside of the visitor center in Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park. So that's the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua tree. All right, Fractals, what do we get for a poll here? We're going to fly over to Mauna Kea. So now we're leaving the national park and heading across the way to another volcano. We got volcano deity for 1 vote. Yep. Legendary soccer player for 2 votes. Okay, yep. And then probably Fractal's relatives for 2 votes. That's also fair, yeah. So in this case, Pele that I'm referring to at least is the Hawaiian volcano deity. I practiced pronunciation on his name, and if I get it wrong, I'm so sorry, but it's Pele. Pele is the football player with an accent on the second E. Although also a good answer, so I do think those 2 votes are correct. And Fractals is probably related in some way to it. I'm certain of it. So all 3 are right answers. Yeah, both in this case. I used to make maple syrup at our house growing up. Oh, So yes, I've seen and done tree tapping. Did it turn out any good? I feel like it's either super easy or super hard to do that kind of thing. Tap your own maple tree. All right, so ʻŌhiʻa Lehua. This tree grows to different heights depending on the environment it's in, and it can survive in as a smaller plant in like boggy areas, or if it's growing in lava fields, or it can grow really into big trees if it's got a little better environment. It produces a brilliant display of flowers, made which can range from a fiery red, which is that picture I showed a second ago, to a kind of yellow color. So this is a close-up of a yellow. It's got kind of a pom-pom shape. Many native Hawaiian traditions refer to the tree and the forest, the forest it forms as sacred to Pele, who is, as we talked about, the volcano goddess, and also to Laka, the goddess of the hula. ʻŌhiʻa trees grow easily on lava and are usually the first plants to grow on new lava flows. This is one of those things where Wikipedia as a source is really interesting. So I was going to add something to the Wikipedia page about the root system of the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua plant, because I remember learning that they are very thin and they can actually get into the cracks in the lava. I found pictures of that, but the only sources that really cited it that I could find were there was like a couple of pictures and a couple of comments on papers, which isn't quite good enough for Wikipedia standard. But I'm wondering if we have a Kaloli, if you've probably seen it, or maybe you know more if the roots are. I remember them being super long and they like kind of fall into, or they can get into the lava in a way that most plants can. So if you know a little bit more, used to make maple syrup at our house growing up. So I've seen and done tree tap. Okay, homemade maple is super good. All you do is boil the stuff for days. Okay, cool. It sounds tasty, actually. Maybe that'll be I feel like I don't need another hobby. I'll finish up the live streaming first. Then I'll talk to the wife about getting into syrup making. Okay, so there's the flows coming out of Malala. For our backside here. So I mentioned that the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua tree is a tree that is commonly referenced in a lot of traditions of Hawaii. And there's a story actually that goes along with the plant. To get into that though, first you need to know who Pele is. So I mentioned it's the Hawaiian volcano deity, an elemental force and the creator of the volcanic landscapes. According to tradition, she is embodied by the lava and natural forces associated with volcanic eruptions. Her permanent home is Halemaumau crater, the summit of Kilauea, so the one that we just flew over a moment ago, the one that collapsed a lot recently. So that's who Pele is to the story. The other piece to know about it is the plant name is sort of two parts. So there's the ʻŌhiʻa and then Lehua. So ʻŌhiʻa is the tree sort of part, and Lehua then is the flower on top of it. Now, I did some research into that piece as well, and it sounds like you can refer to the tree also as Lehua, and you can refer to the flower as ʻŌhiʻa, and like it's sort of but anyway, for the story's sake, we'll say ʻŌhiʻa is the tree and Lehua is the flower, and a lot of people refer to it that. So in Hawaiian mythology, ʻŌhiʻa and Lehua were two young lovers. But the volcano goddess Pele fell in love with the handsome ʻŌhiʻa. And she approached him, but ʻŌhiʻa, being faithful to Lehua, turned down her advances. In a fit of jealousy, Pele transformed ʻŌhiʻa into a tree. Lehua was devastated by this transformation, the loss of her lover being too much to bear. And Pele felt remorseful. She did it in a fit of jealousy, but she was unable to reverse the change, and so ʻŌhiʻa had to remain a tree forever. She was able to, though, to reunite them in a different way. What she did is she turned Lohia into a flower herself, and then she put Lohia on the branch of ʻŌhiʻa, Lehua, on the branch of ʻŌhiʻa, and so that the two lovers could be together forever. So we have ʻŌhiʻa, the handsome gentleman, the tree, and then Lehua, the lovely flower adorning the tree. And so, going along with that legend, it's said that if you pluck a lohia flower from a Lehua flower from a ʻŌhiʻa tree, the sky will fill with rain, which represents the separated lovers' tears. So if you pluck the flower from the tree, it'll start to rain. I remember being told that story on my tour of Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park, and one of the kids on the tour was going to go up to the tree and pluck a flower off. I don't know. kids, right? And they go and pluck a flower off, and the tour guide was like, "No, please do not make it rain on us right now." So, kind of a fun love story and also a fun tradition about it. Fractals, thank you. Okay, with about 10 minutes left, please fill out the attached survey for some feedback. Join the Discord, thank you. Perfect, appreciate it, Fractals. All right, so a love story of ʻŌhiʻa and Lehua, the two parts of the tree. So in summary, the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua plant is a plant found only in Hawaii. It is one of the first species to settle in a lava field and produces beautiful flowers. It can grow to be 70 feet tall or stay very, very short, in essence adapting to its surroundings. If you pluck a flower from it, legend holds that it'll start to rain. And so I was thinking about this legend a little bit, and I'm wondering if I can reverse engineer a legend like that in my own town, right? I'm not from Hawaii, but I figured, if I started observing when I separate things, like, do I get natural phenomena that start to occur? And so I was playing around with this a little bit, and I did make a discovery. I figured out that every time I pull the covers away from my wife's side of the bed, somehow they get pulled back to her side and an Arctic wind starts to blow around the house. So it's not quite a localized rainstorm, but still the best plan, much like with the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua plant, is to just not separate the wife from the blankets. Okay. With that, Fractals, do you mind posting up the survey for the next park we want to go visit? And this is the National Radio Astronomy Observatory off here. A little high up to there, but a very pretty part of the game. They did a good job rendering these. I'll dip over, we can go and visit the park. So our 3 options for parks next time are Northern Cascades. Flip over to this view and fly right around here. Northern Cascades National Park, Capitol Reef National Park, and Gates of the Arctic National Park. Those are our 3 ones that we have for options. We'll kind of pass over. So this is the Mauna Kea Observatory. And again, they did a really good job with these renderings. Actually do a little pause here while we're passing. We can do a look around these. And Flying Singer, I'm going to advance this to a sunset, because I'll tell you what, sunset on Mauna Kea is something else. All right, Fractal's got that pull up. That's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea, Stacy. Wife gets blankets, yeah. It's a working system, that's an important thing. So while people are voting on that poll, person of the week for this week is Prince Kūhiō. Prince Kūhiō lived from 1871 to 1922. He's also known by his childhood nickname of Prince Cupid. We've got a lot of handsome men coming around. And he was the Prince of the Kingdom of Hawaii he was a Prince of the Kingdom of Hawaii until it was overthrown by the coalition of American and European businessmen in 1893. He later went on to become a representative of the territory of Hawaii as a delegate to the United States, and is the only person ever elected to Congress who was born into royalty. In 1919, Kūhiō introduced in Congress the first ever Hawaii Statehood Act, although it took another 40 years before it actually came to fruition, but he introduced the first one. Prince Kūhiō died in 1922 and is the last Prince of Hawaii. He's also often called the Prince of the People for his effort to preserve and strengthen the Hawaiian people. So this is him, a picture of him as the Prince. And this is a picture of him as a congressional delegate. And finally, if you go to Waikiki Beach, you will see a statue of him there today. So you can go and look for that next time you're there. So this is the Prince Kūhiō. One of the other reasons that I want to talk about him for Don't Mess with Mother Nature. Yeah, I was up there for sunset. You were up there, Flying Singer, you're up here for sunset. Yeah. In the game or in real life? I feel like in real life it would be incredible. I mean, this is like gorgeous, gorgeous look. And you're over the clouds and everything. So, oops, I'll flip away from that so you can actually see what I'm looking at here. Got this beautiful sunrise off in the distance here. So the reason that I chose Prince Kūhiō, and apologies if I'm getting the pronunciation wrong, is he introduced the Hawaii National Park Bill in 1916 and sought to establish Hawaii National Park, covering Kilauea, Mauna Loa, and Haleakale, which is the other national park they separated in the 40s, I think. Sometime around there. Split the two national parks. Thomas Jagger, who's the director of the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory and the person who that museum is named after, testified in support of the bill, and President Wilson signed the bill into law. Thank you. Okay. In real life, yeah, I go up there. Flying Singer. Oh. Nightbot timed out. Oh no, did Nightbot... What happened to Flying Singer? Fractals, if you can fix that, that would be great. I don't know what happened. Okay, and a last fun fact here as we close up. So I'll fly my way down the mountain now. Prince Kūhiō and his two brothers went to school in the United States. They actually went to a school in San Mateo, California. And what they would do is travel south to the Pacific seashore at Santa Cruz. While they were there in Santa Cruz, the brothers demonstrated the Hawaiian sport of surfing to the locals. And so they became the first California surfers in 1885. The historic first was reported in July 20th of 1885 on the Santa Cruz Daily, where they said, "The young Hawaiian princes were in the water enjoying it hugely and giving interesting exhibitions of the surfboard swimming as practiced in their native land." So Prince Kūhiō, beyond being a prince and a prince of the people and a congressman, was also the first California surfer. All right, let's see if we're flying off in the sunset. I'm not sure the bot did that. Try commenting in not all caps. Okay. I think the thought was he was trying to post a link via IRL. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, sorry about that, Flying Singer. What happens, Fractals? Does he get, like, kicked out then? Or is it, like is it a bouncer kind of situation? You gotta let him back in or something? All right, so we got about 3 minutes left. So today we talked about Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park. Talked a little bit about lava. We learned about pahoehoe and ʻŌhiʻa lava, or sharp lava, the ʻŌhiʻa. We also talked about the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua plant, a little bit about how it survives different environments. And then we talked a little bit about Prince Kūhiō, Prince of Hawaii and first surfer in California. So about our Sunset Observatory tour, highly recommended. Okay, Flying Singer made it back in. I don't. We got a bot that does stuff. Sunset Observatory tour, highly recommend. Okay, after sunset we went to the dark site where they had telescopes set up, unsplash photo. I took a mountain's shadow in the clouds. So fun, very thin air. Wow, that'll be cool. I'm gonna have to add that to my list of things to do. All right, look at us, right on schedule. So Fractals posted up that survey in the chat. I do appreciate your input, so thank you very much for taking the time to add any suggestions. If you want to come hang out in the Discord chat, I add up new emojis every week, just kind of fun things to play in, and talk about national parks, other adventures. Flying Singer, if you want to post the picture of the site, the visit up to the top of Mauna Kea, that would be a great place to do that. And perfect timing on the straw poll results here. We got 3 votes then for Gates of the Arctic National Park. All right, good choice. So we went from a very, very warm place to a very, very cold place. Links again in case you missed it. Thanks, Fractals. So Gates of the Arctic it is. That'll be fun. So with that, thank you for being my co-pilot today. And until we meet again, stay curious and keep on exploring. See y'all next week.